So the start of a new month upcoming means for XDefiant another XDebrief and a look at the coming changes and content this month directly from the team at Ubisoft San Francisco. Today we learned a decent bit and I wanted to recap all that for you. So as we go along, drop your thoughts down below, drop a like if you enjoyed the video or you find it at all insightful, and make sure to subscribe for more XDefiant, Black Ops 6 and other FPS coverage. A lot of stuff upcoming that I think you guys will enjoy. I'd love to have in the community. Finally, if you'd like to support the channel a little further, you can use code Espresso in the in-game shop if you find any skins or anything interesting, but never feel obligated to. Anyways, let's get into it. So this XDebrief focused around a few things. Ranked play changes coming tomorrow and into the rest of Season 1 and beyond. The new map coming later this week. Yeah, that one feels kind of out of nowhere, really. No prior mention or anything that we'd see something coming for a new map, but hey, I'm cool with it. And honestly, you could probably infer it would be coming this week or next, just because it's a month after the launch of Season 1, but cool to actually see. And then some miscellaneous details from the Q&A, which proved pretty insightful. Now, before we get into all of that stuff, a quick little reminder, as with the last XDebrief, we got another free and honestly really limited time reward that you can redeem for literally no charge. You just have to input the code on screen and you'll be credited with it. But this XDebrief featured the Stark retroactive uniform, which is available from now until only 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, and 6 p.m. in the UK on Thursday, August 1st. So not a whole ton of time for you to redeem it, so make sure you do at redeem.ubisoft.com/XDefiant. But anyways, let's get into it. First, I want to start out with some content here that is kind of applicable to everyone. Ranked play is a big topic of discussion of this XDebrief, but it's probably not for every single player. I haven't even dabbled into ranked as much as I'd like. Maybe you haven't as well. So figure we could start with something that's a bit more topical to the vast majority of players in relation to XDefiant. But we're going to have a new map called Daytona coming here as of this Friday, August 2nd. Now, right now there is no ETA on terms of when that update makes it go live. I would imagine it's 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. in the UK. Ubisoft seems to like that so far with XDefiant's rollout for updates and XDebriefs and everything official like that. So very well possible, but keep an eye out. This Friday, you're going to have a new map. This map is made in collaboration with the team behind the Crew games, which makes me wonder if that sort of collaboration that's hinted at in the long-term game files, if that's something that could just explain that kind of stuff. Like, obviously, it's very likely we could still see a faction of some kind, but a collaboration is certainly an easier route to take if it's mentioned at all. But we'll see where that goes. It's also mentioned that there are more surprising collaborations coming later on in the year. So no idea what that will end up entailing, but it is something that seems to have, at least in the future, some sort of weight behind it. But the map itself is going to be a progression style map. So you're not going to be able to play your modes like Domination, Hotshot, TDM, stuff like that on it. You're only going to be able to play Escort as well as Zone Control. So maybe again for some players, I still enjoy both those modes, so very much so looking forward to jumping into this one. The map is described as being a very tight progressive lane with some sneaky flank routes alongside that. So for those pushing the Escort package, just know it's going to be some firefights coming towards you pretty quickly, and also you might want to watch your six. Now, the thing that I did get a kick out of was the fact they said they experimented with cars in the background because it is set up supposed to be as a sort of raceway at an expo, but they decided against it because they said it was, air quote, too distracting. Anyone else getting hints of Crown Raceway from Modern Warfare 2 vibes in there when, you know, you had those cars on the racetrack next to the long hallway there? Just me? Okay. But anyways, the map aesthetically looks really cool, really pleasing, vibrant, nice and bright, should be good for visibility, all that kind of stuff. I'm expecting a lot of rifle and SMG play to really thrive here, but who knows? I mean, if you have those long, tight corridors for pushing that Escort package, maybe it's pretty good for snipers, LMGs at long range too, who knows? But anyways, that is the map Daytona coming this Friday, August 2nd. But now let's move on to ranked play. Tomorrow, we have an update for XDefiant, which comes along with a lot more than just ranked changes, but Pat Price, otherwise known as Aches, the systems designer for Ranked, got on the brief to give a rundown of what to expect tomorrow, throughout Season 1, and into Season 2 and beyond. So for those ranked changes, we can break it down into three separate categories. Fixes coming tomorrow, shortly after Update 1.3, and then later on into Season 1 and Season 2. So for fixes coming tomorrow, we apparently will see fixes for the 0 RP bug, obviously obviously that's a great thing to see fixed out. If you're winning, you should be getting RP. The Charlie 01 errors. We should see the introduction of a match cancellation event, which means when a lobby is created, it's going to go through 3 separate checks: when in the map selection, when in the faction selection, and then right before the game is about to start. If at any point there is a player that is missing from either team, the game will cancel and penalties will not be granted to those still in the game. Now, that player who disconnected, they will still receive a penalty, but for the remainder of those in the lobby, it is not going to penalize you. You're not going to start a match a man down or anything, and you're not going to waste your time by having to play that. It'll just kick you back out where you can re-queue and go into another match. So definitely nice. Of course, there is still the sort of question on, okay, well, what if you just lose power or your Ethernet cable comes out, like you didn't actually mean to leave the game? That's probably something we'll have to tackle later on down the line, but for right now, it mitigates the issues persisting around those 7 other players. Additionally, we'll also see ranked capture the flag introduced into the ranked rule sets here, but it's going to have slightly different rules than that of the public match version. You're going to have 2 5-minute halves with teams switching at halftime, and the most flags at the end wins. There is no score limit associated with that. So those are going to be coming as of tomorrow's update, but shortly after that update, so it could be something later on in that week following, 2 weeks, we don't quite know, but shortly after, there's going to be ping limiting introduced into ranked so that you can only have a set maximum that you're going to end up coming in contact with. So you're not playing against somebody that, though they may be the same skill level as you, you're not going to be playing around the world to try and matchmake there. They're also going to introduce input priority, which means that at the start, you're going to exclusively matchmake with your preferred input, but if a wave of time does pass where you cannot find a match because of that input priority, you're going to end up getting the whole lot of matchmaking. So it'll give you that input-based matchmaking to a degree, but then come back to, if they can't find a match, just putting you in any match available, just so you're not matchmaking forever. And then finally, it's going to update ranked point ranges for matchmaking, increasing that to 30 ranked points in ranges for the most part. Then later on in Season 1, at some point here, so could be next month, we'll see faction skill restrictions introduced, where once in the faction selection screen, only one player can choose one faction and ability at a time. So you're not going to have double dipping here of the same things. There will be additional penalties for quitters. There will be an update to the RP calculations, granting wins a bit more RP, and then the party average RP and matchmaking is going to be something that's fixed out, where initially it was meant that parties would be match made off their average RP of the players involved, but it's not working intended as of right now, but a fix should be coming later on in the season. Then they detailed a little bit into Season 2 and beyond, where you're going to have a top 500 ranked in-game leaderboard that shows all players and a few different handful of stats associated with that. Ranked loadouts and loadout restrictions will be introduced as well, where you're going to have separate classes for ranked and unranked. Ranked at that point will have everything unlocked for use. So say you don't have like the LVOAC unlocked, you'll end up having that by default unlocked in ranked. The only caveat is that if you play with something that is not unlocked in your public matches, you're not going to end up earning weapon XP towards that in ranked play. Aches stated that restrictions could come, but a list isn't ready just yet for what that would be in the future. Then Season 2 will also introduce a rejoin feature, huge, I think, and then progressive RP penalties for quitters, meaning you're going to progressively reduce the RP for players that quit in what they are yielded, and potentially even increasing those penalties more and more. The final thing discussed in this XDebrief was some stuff from a Q&A portion, where they took questions from the community, not fielded like specifically live for this XDebrief, but some curated questions that they pulled from the community across socials. The first one was, will there be any plans to add more weapon attachments in the future? Because as we know, we have the same set of weapon attachments across every single weapon right now in XDefiant. There's roughly 40 to 42-ish attachments, I think it is, across all the weapons, just depending on if you have more optics than others on some weapons. So will we see any more introduced into the future? It was mentioned, absolutely. There's a new attachment in Season 2, and it was previewed that more content, including weapons and additional attachments, will be coming in future seasons as well. So while we won't have one for the rest of the season now, we will have another attachment coming across the board to Season 2 and maybe even more beyond. Another question is, will we ever have the ability to change HUD scale or HUD elements? That was something they said they're looking to get into the future, but there's not an answer right now. They detailed a little bit about how gun buffs and nerfs were decided, where they look across social media channels for comments, combine that with in-game data, then design decisions to make the game as healthy as possible and balanced. There's a question on if there's updates coming to anti-cheat, a very valid question, where They say they watch every report in-game and on social media, that it's an ever-changing thing here with this, where as of the last update, patch 2 of Season 1, that was something that did introduce the speed hack combating, but they're of course always going to be watching that. And obviously they didn't go too far into detail just because, one, question and answer part, which is a sort of wrap-up, but also you don't want to give too much away to tip off any cheat creators about things they should be aware of. But for the players that are dealing with these cheats, of course, it is frustrating to not hear a whole ton about that kind of stuff. They were asked, will there be a 24/7 playlist when maps are introduced? The answer of which is yes. So we're also going to see one with Daytona upcoming this Friday. Then they finally left everything off with in development items, stuff that is coming in the future, just touching on it briefly, but didn't really offer any sort of clarity or context for any of that stuff. But they detailed prestige mode, weapon mastery system upgrades, keyboard and mouse support on console, private matches, and kill cams are all still in the works and priority items that are coming sometime soon. So that said, that was the XDebrief. A lot of surprising and large ticket items were detailed in this. So the month of August here should hopefully have some good changes in content throughout the month upcoming for XDefiant, but that's where we're gonna wrap it up. So let me know your thoughts down below. What do you guys think of these changes, updates, new content coming? Let me know. If you enjoyed the video, you found it at all insightful, do me a favor and drop a like on it. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things XDefiant, Black Ops 6, and other FPS content here on the channel. I'd love to have in the community, but for now, thanks so much for watching. Mine has been Espresso. I'll see you later. Take care and peace.